Well, I thought because my hair place isn't open and anything else, so might as well start wearing whimsical hats. Why not, you know? Okay, so what we're going to do in Chapter 14, Objective 4, is we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few things. And the first thing that I want to talk with you about is how to determine when firms in competitive markets decide to shut down. We're also going to explain what we mean by sunk cost and the ability to find profitability. So let's go ahead and get at it. And I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. Oh, I needed to start the slideshow. Slideshow. There we go. Okay. So here again, we're looking at a perfectly competitive market. A few things to remember about a perfectly competitive market is that marginal revenue equals price, which equals average revenue, okay? And in the previous objective, we looked at when a competitive firm would choose to shut down. And we said that's if average variable cost is greater than price. And remember, if you're shut down, you still have to pay those fixed costs. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is the irrelevance of a sunk cost. And a sunk cost you might have encountered in economics. And a sunk cost, in accounting, is it's already been committed and cannot be recovered. So if you've built a building, you've depreciated it, then that's a sunk cost because you can't undo that. You could sell the building, but you're not going to continue to have maintenance and upkeep and some of those kinds of things. So they're irrelevant to your decisions because you have to pay them regardless of what your choices might be. So in some ways, a fixed cost is a sunk cost, okay? And you have to pay those fixed costs if you produce or shut down, okay? So it doesn't really matter in the shutdown decision. However, if you do exit the market, then your fixed costs will be zero in the long run. So we're going to say in our determination that a firm will exit if total costs are greater than total revenue. And remember, we can boil this down and we can say price times quantity, okay? Fixed cost, total cost would be fixed cost plus variable cost, and our variable cost is a proportion of quantity. And so here, if we divide both sides by Q, we kind of get rid of this idea. And so we're going to exit if our average total cost is greater than price. Remember that we shut down if average average variable cost was greater than price. So that's kind of our decision rule here. Now, why would a firm choose to enter a market? And remember, there are no barriers to entry here. So when we talk about the ease of entry, it's very easy to enter into this market, okay? And so we know, and we've discussed already, that profitability will invite competition. Okay? All right. So here, we're going to enter or believe that we'll be profitable when total revenue is greater than total cost. So if our total revenues expected are greater than our total cost, and so we could again divide this out, take the Q out of it, and we could say as long as price is greater than average total cost, okay, then we're going to go ahead and enter into the market. And you'll notice that's exactly the opposite. If we're going to exit, we would say then average total cost is greater than price, then firms are going to leave this market and exit. And this will be a continual process as we look at this. To look at it graphically, here again, we have our marginal cost curve, and we're going to say that that's equal to our supply curve. It's equal to our supply curve as long as we are above our average variable cost. This is where we would like to be in the red. And so if we look at in the long run, again, remember LR, long run, average total cost, that the firm's long-run supply curve is the portion that is above the average total cost curve. Now, let's see if these firms are profitable. Let's go ahead and put in a price here. Remember that the profit maximizing quantity is where marginal revenue and marginal cost meet. So I'm going to kind of draw that down here. So this is the quantity that maximizes profit. Okay, this is where this firm will want to produce. Our next question is this firm profitable? And we take this right where that marginal revenue, marginal cost line intersects the total cost curve and follow it over. We can see that in this case, yes, the firm would be profitable here, and they would be profitable such that they are capturing all of this rectangle here as profitability. Now, what's going to happen in the market? Well, profitability invites competition. So competitors are going to come into this market. As competitors come in, the supply curve shifts out, which drives the price down. Okay, now let's go ahead and put a price in here. And remember, price is equal to marginal revenue in a perfectly competitive market. Here, we want to produce where marginal revenue and marginal cost meet. So this would be the quantity in this scenario that maximizes our profitability. Okay. Now, notice that the average total cost curve is above that point. So when we look at this, we would say this where we take the point where marginal revenue, marginal cost, extend it upward to average total cost and over, then we would say that in this scenario, what we're going to have are losses such that the losses will be the amount of this rectangle. And what's going to happen in the firm? Well, some firms might be able to ride this out. Again, if they've used capital budgeting techniques and some other things to ensure profitability. However, if they have not, then some of these firms are going to leave the industry, which is going to cause the supply curve to shift inward, which will cause the price to go up. So again, here is the loss that this particular firm is operating at in the short term. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Determine this firm's total profit, and then identify the area on the graph that represents total profit. So remember, here's our profit maximizing quantity here at 50. Why? Because this is where marginal revenue and marginal cost meet. Follow that down. So this is our profit maximizing quantity. We notice that the average total cost curve is below the marginal revenue, marginal cost point. It's right here. We're going to go ahead and follow that over. And this is our average total cost is $6. So to determine exactly how much is profitability, and we know that we're looking at profitability because we want to know the area of this rectangle right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, length, the area of a rectangle is length times width. So I know that 10 minus 6, that's going to be 4. 0 to 50 is going to be 50. And 4 times 50 is going to equal 200. So our profits right now at this scenario are 200. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think is going to happen? And if you said firms will enter, and that's exactly right, firms will enter into this market, which will drive down the price, which will cause some firms to shut down, others might exit, and then this will continue. As firms shut down, then our supply curve is going to shift outward and to the right, which is going to drive price down. Okay, so you kind of get it's a scenario. It kind of goes like, on and on and on. Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so now determine this firm's total loss, assuming average total costs are greater than 3. Okay, so again, where are we going to produce that? Where marginal revenue and marginal cost meet. It used to be that the most important point to find was equilibrium. In this particular unit, it's where marginal revenue and marginal cost meet. We're going to follow that down. This is the quantity that's going to maximize our profit. And so we follow that over, and we see that's $5. Because our marginal revenue, marginal cost point is here, we follow it up to the average total cost curve. So this is our loss, okay, and this is our price. Again, just like before, we want to calculate how much is that. 5 minus 3 is 2. 0 to 30 is 30. So our loss in this case is going to be equal to 30 times 2, which is 60. What's going to happen in this market? You guessed it. The supply curve for the market is going to shift inward because some firms are going to shut down, others are going to exit. As that happens, the price is going to increase. As the price is going to increase, there will be some profitability in this market. And then when there's profitability in the market, people will enter in the market, which will shift the supply curve to the left, driving the price down, and we again continue down that spiral. Okay, so that's the end of this objective, and hopefully that kind of makes sense to you. Next objective, we're going to look at, okay, so if we have people entering and people exiting and the price going up and down, supply curve shifting in and out, where does this stop at? And that's what we're going to cover in the next objective. Thanks, be well.